Hi everybody, my name is Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food on both YouTube and Facebook. What kind of chewer are you? Yeah, you heard me right. What kind of chewer are you with food? Well, we all know the show The Chew, right? Very interesting. How do they stay skinny? They keep making these wonderful meals. Every now and then I give it a look, but usually not, because I don't need to be triggered with yummy things that I can't eat, and right now anyway, and also because it messes with my food plan most times. But anyway, what type of chewer are you? Do you have a dental aggression? Do you eat at people? Do you tear into things that it almost scares you? Do you hardly chew your food, so you just swallow it and you leave your stomach the job of doing something it's not meant to do because the teeth were on vacation? Are any of you old enough to remember Bob Newhart sitting in bed with his wife, Suzanne Plachette? And he was practicing chewing. And she was just always the best foil, right? She would sit there and be driven crazy by his chewing. He wanted to make sure that he chewed enough. So, are you somebody that likes the feel, the taste, the experience of crunch? And does your crunch contain salty? Is your crunch necessarily a grain that you tuck into with a voraciousness that you almost could be a lion, except it's not meat, it's a chip or a cracker? Do you know that chemists and food manufacturers work extra hard to make the decibel of the crunch in your head be consistent? So you know with each crunch, now I'm sure with something like Pringles it's probably easy because they're all consistently the same. But and crackers, and maybe cookies. But how about a bag of chips, you know? I know that when I have my very rare and appropriate popcorn at the movie theater, that it is the crunch. I know that if I had to sit next to Greg and not have popcorn while he did it, he has a certain way of crunching popcorn that I know. It's the biggest trigger in my life, right? What a luxury problem. The way he eats his popcorn at the movie theater is a trigger? But I know that. And so I plan my very rare and appropriate popcorn times only at the movie theater. And we only go once every few months. So that is a contained moment. And that's part of my chew, my crunch. But how about you? In your most unhealthy places, the crunching and the chewing. And just think of the chemists at these food manufacturing places that try to keep the crunch for as long as they can in milk-laden cereals. Did you ever think about that? You know, I mean, I'm sure the old-fashioned cereal got soggy right away, but then we weren't paying as much attention to things like the crunch to keep us addicted to grains and crackers and sugars, crackers and cereals and chips and things like that. And so, yes, they work really hard on making the crunch stay as long as it can in that bowl with the milk all over it. And it's amazing, isn't it? It's scary because then you think of all the different processes. When they say processed food, they mean processed foods. What other things? Are those some of the things when you read the label for like a cereal? Are a million of those ingredients to keep the crunch chemicals? Ew! Not fun, not good, not healthy for you. Okay, so then you join on to some sort of food weight loss program, and the crunch now is coming from things like carrots, cucumbers, celery, peppers, and salad after salad after salad. And funny, I was talking to this woman one time, and I was only having, what was I having? I was having those mixed greens, and they don't have a lot of crunch to them. And she says, well, no, I tend to add romaine to all my salads because I like the crunch. Now, this is a woman that's done her work. She's figured out what's important to her. Do you get home from your job, which might have a little stress, you think, in America today, in it, and reach for something crunchy? Or do you need the crunchy at lunchy just to make it through your work day? Do you ever pay attention to that sort of thing? How you're eating? Do you even pay attention to what you're eating? Some experts say after the second bite, you don't even taste what it is you're having. So just have 2 teaspoons of the ice cream if you absolutely have to have it, and then get rid of it, dump it, wash it down the drain, anything, right? So the chew is very, very, very important to us, and the crunch that goes along with it. Now, sometimes we're a comfort food person, and we don't want the crunch. That our comfort comes from the smooth things, like the mac and cheese, like the potatoes, like the ice cream, or the frozen yogurt because we think it's healthier. It's not. Don't tell anybody. It's not. And or if you're somebody like me that wanted both the smooth comfort, and the crunch, and I would have all kinds of candy on top of my ice cream. So it was the best of both worlds. I could have the smooth comfort, and I could have the crunchy comfort. Yeah, I was a food addict. And think of puddings, think of frosting, all those things. So we each have a place in our more unhealthy moments before we got an awareness, before we started watching channels like this and other channels where we talk about the emotions behind the types of eating that we've done. Or you've been a tear into your sort of food with an aggression of a lion that's been thrown meat. And they attack it because they like it and they're hungry, and that's in their nature. Our nature is a little bit different. So if you're having a piece of meat and cutting it into tiny bites and savoring each bite and chewing it all the way through before the next shovel goes in, you might be what we consider a slow eater. Then there are moderate eaters, and then there are fast eaters. And sometimes we can catch the way that the person with us is eating. And sometimes they have a good eating habit, and we can learn from it and adopt it and pay attention to it and bring it to other places with us. So when we're not eating with that person, we can eat in that same way. If you're a fast eater, you're probably not digesting things as nicely as you could, and it could be setting you up to eat more because you don't even remember eating. Because you just get into that zone and suddenly it's gone. And I know that for me, standing and eating, when I used to do those 2 things, was mindless eating. And it was just additional calories that I wasn't even paying attention to. So if I was standing, tasting, taking a spoon and tasting somebody's mashed potatoes that I've never had, or just can I have one bite of your ice cream, and you stand up and you shove it in, it probably trips off the I want more, but you don't even remember eating it, and it wasn't satisfying at all, instead of sitting down and slowly enjoying whatever it is. And you've heard me say often, I dine. I do. I sit there with 2 ounces of yogurt and a half an ounce of a nut butter, and I dine. I take my time eating it. And even though it's a totally smooth thing that I could eat in less than 60 seconds, I make it last. Sometimes I work the yogurt first, as if the nut butter is the treat. Other times I mix them both. I mean, I guess you could say I play with my food, but it's in a way to savor it and make it last. And I guess you would call me a slow eater. And I probably was a fast eater before, and I think of those days, with 2 little boys, getting them to all the games and practices and places they had to be. And I'm sure it was just shove it in and go on to the next, And I'm glad that my pace has slowed down a little bit, and that I am now a slow eater, and I enjoy the chew. And I don't let my stomach do the work of my teeth when it comes to pieces of meat. That would be a stressful thing, and your body would get stressed too, because it's not prepared to do all the metabolizing of a big piece of meat. So anyway, just pay attention. Pay attention to how you chew, how you dine, how fast you eat, and really begin to savor the moment. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food. Have a great day. Bye-bye for now.